Imagine a young nation, teetering, its very identity, its future, hanging by a thread, waiting for the dawn. Here, on this hallowed ground, lives converged, shattered, then quietly faded into the earth's embrace. 158,000 souls, an ocean of humanity, gathered here, prepared to tear a nation asunder. How did 3 desperate, bloody days transform everything, irrevocably shaping the American story forever? Before this clash, America, a grand experiment, grappled with its very soul, fragile and deeply divided. The numbers alone tell a profound tale. A staggering force, about to collide in Pennsylvania. Each man, a son, a father, a brother, carried his hopes and fears onto this stage. This small, unassuming town, nestled amidst rolling hills, became the unexpected crucible of destiny. For 72 hours, the ground trembled, the air screamed, as a young nation fought for its life. The decisions made on those fields, born of desperation and courage, altered countless lives forevermore. Imagine the sheer spectacle, lines of blue and gray, stretching beyond what the eye could see. These quiet ridges, now bathed in peace, once echoed with unimaginable shouts, prayers, and gunfire. These were not mere statistics. They were individuals, each with a profound, aching human story. It was a collision of ideologies, a brutal struggle for the very soul of this young republic. The stakes were immense. The consequences of victory or defeat would forever redraw our map. This ground remembers. It holds the weight of a turning point, a profound moment in time. The raw intensity, the desperate courage, the unimaginable terror all unfolded in 72 hours. The quiet rows of stones whisper tales of sacrifice, reminding us of freedom's immense cost. We'll explore the harrowing consequences, the pain, the profound grief, and the resilience displayed. Join me now as we step back into the echoes of that fateful summer to truly feel it. This is the saga of 93,000 souls against 65,000, the clash that reshaped a nation. Let us journey together through the profound story of Gettysburg, a wound and a triumph. Friends, before we speak of a specific field, we must first remember the ground upon which it lay, a nation torn. It was a time when brothers faced brothers, when neighbor turned against neighbor, a sorrowful, fracturing epoch. This wasn't merely a war of armies, it was a profound clash of ideals, a deep question of belonging. The American Civil War had been raging, leaving scars on the very soul of a young, hopeful republic. And through these early, brutal years, one force seemed to gather an almost unstoppable momentum. The Confederate armies, often outnumbered, had achieved a string of remarkable morale-boosting victories. Much of this success was attributed to the strategic genius, the quiet brilliance of General Robert E. Lee. He was a commander who understood his men, the land, and the delicate dance of military strategy. Each victory fueled the South's resolve and deepened the North's weary despair. The stakes grew. The feeling grew, like a slow creeping fog, that Lee's army was simply invincible. Unstoppable, they seemed. This perception of invincibility wasn't just morale. It was a potent weapon, shaping both hope and fear. They had pushed back Union advances repeatedly, holding their ground with a fierce, unwavering tenacity. The South had found a rhythm of success, a painful ballet of strategic retreats and devastating counteroffensives. Their victories, hard-won and bloody, served to embolden the Confederate cause and its devoted leadership. With this momentum, Lee made a momentous, aggressive decision to march his army north into Union territory. This wasn't a desperate flight. It was a calculated, audacious, strategic offensive laden with purpose. One primary objective was practical: to secure much-needed supplies for his hungry, often ill-equipped army. Another was to relieve the immense pressure on the beleaguered Confederate states, bringing the war elsewhere. And perhaps, just perhaps, to strike a blow so decisive that it might force a negotiated peace. This wasn't merely about winning a battle, it was about shifting the entire narrative of the war. Pennsylvania offered fertile ground, abundant resources, a tantalizing prospect for his struggling forces. He sought to disrupt the Union's will, to sow doubt within their northern heartlands. A desperate gamble. Lee believed a victory on Union soil could shatter morale and push the Union towards recognition. This daring maneuver was designed to change everything, to end the bloody conflict on Confederate terms. So, we stand at the precipice with Lee, a man of profound conviction, leading his devoted legions north. His reputation for brilliance, even invincibility, preceded him, a shadow stretching before his advancing army. He was the South's shining star, their hope for sovereignty, their very symbol of defiant resistance. Yet, across the fields, facing this formidable foe, stood General George G. Meade, newly appointed, resolute. These two men, embodying the deep ideological chasm, would soon meet, their choices shaping history. The stakes couldn't be higher. The very fate of a nation, tearing itself apart, hung in the balance. The summer of 1863 settled heavy, a quiet tension stretching across the war-torn land. What now? General Lee, a man of profound weight, bore the Confederacy's hopes upon his aging shoulders now. His army, though victorious in spirit, felt the deep ache of constant struggle. Supplies dwindled, hope frayed. Lee knew Virginia couldn't endure much longer. A bold, desperate gamble was their only remaining path. He made a choice then, one that would echo through generations. They would march north into Pennsylvania. The Potomac, usually a border, became a doorway to audacious ambition. Their journey had truly begun. With each step into Union territory, the stakes rose higher, an unspoken prayer on every soldier's lips. This wasn't just another raid. It was an invasion, a desperate throw of the dice for freedom. Beyond battle, a simpler, urgent need drove them, the very sustenance of life itself, for everyone. The North offered abundant food, fresh horses, and vital equipment, a desperate foraging mission truly. Lee hoped to draw the Union's formidable Army of the Potomac far from their cherished capital. He sought to relieve the immense pressure on the beleaguered South, a vital strategic maneuver indeed. More than that, he aimed for a decisive strike, a blow against Northern morale, right at its heart. Imagine the terror, the doubt, if Confederate forces threatened Philadelphia or even Washington, D.C. The very thought of Southern boots on Northern soil was a profound shock, a deeply unsettling idea. So, the great army moved, a serpent winding through quiet Pennsylvania, its destiny unwritten. Local villagers watched, their lives about to change irrevocably, forever marked by this great passage. The land itself seemed to hold its breath, sensing the profound clash of fates drawing ever closer. No one knew precisely where the storm would break, only that its dark clouds were gathering swiftly. Then, as it often does in life's grand narratives, destiny intervened in the simplest of ways. Far from grand strategy, a simple human need drew them forward now. Shoes were scarce. Word reached General Heth's division. A small town named Gettysburg held a shoe factory. Meanwhile, probing northward, Brigadier General Buford's Union cavalry stumbled upon the approaching Confederates. It was an accidental encounter, a twist of fate born from tired feet and seeking vital supplies. Neither side sought a battle here, not yet. Just a quiet search, a routine patrol until now. The first shot cracked, echoing across the quiet fields. Destiny's cruel hand had begun to move. What began as a skirmish, a minor clash, quickly swelled into something far, far greater. News spread like wildfire. Reinforcements, drawn by the unexpected roar, rushed towards this small town. Both armies, seemingly by chance, found themselves converging on one unsuspecting, peaceful Pennsylvania village. A collision course, set by fate, transformed a simple shoe hunt into a monumental, nation-shaping confrontation. The morning arrived, gentle light painting a land soon to bear witness to unimaginable sorrow. They marched, unaware of destiny's hand, toward a quiet town holding a terrible secret. Gettysburg, nestled in hills, stirred in morning's embrace, utterly unprepared for the coming storm. A chance encounter, a simple scouting mission, sparked a flame that none could now extinguish. The first shots echoed, sharp and clear, across fields, ending the morning's delicate peace. Brave cavalry, a mere handful, held the line, buying precious moments for what lay ahead. The grey tide swelled, a powerful river of men, pushing inexorably toward the unsuspecting town. Union foot soldiers, breathless and weary, arrived to bolster the fading line, hope flickering briefly. Fields once green now churned with smoke and fear as the desperate struggle truly began. Thunder roared from distant hills, artillery shells screaming their deadly message across the fields. The Union line, stretched thin, began to bend and break, falling back under immense pressure. Confederate boots touched the town's edge, bringing grim war to peaceful homes, a somber arrival. Panic flared, peaceful lives abruptly shattered by the terrifying, deafening sounds of relentless battle. Quiet streets transformed, becoming a labyrinth of sudden death, echoing with musket fire. Homes that offered comfort now offered only cover, consumed by the battle's cruel, hungry flames. In alleyways and yards, men fought hand to hand, an intimate, brutal dance with mortality. Through the town's heart, Union soldiers retreated, a desperate stream amidst the growing chaos. A surge of victory, a momentary triumph, washed over Confederate ranks as they advanced. Gettysburg, once a haven, became a crucible, innocence consumed by the relentless march of conflict. Exhaustion etched deep on faces. The weight of a losing battle pressed heavily upon them. Amidst chaos, resolute officers tried to stem the tide, their voices hoarse with desperation. The disciplined retreat dissolved into desperate scramble, battle's fury momentarily overwhelming them. The ground bore witness to sacrifice, silent bodies marking the brutal cost of that grim afternoon. Yet, even in defeat, a flicker of resolve ignited, a crucial decision in the smoke-filled air. Ahead, a silent sentinel stood, Cemetery Hill, offering a glimmer of hope amidst despair. Swift orders were dispatched, a desperate plea to rally, to hold the crucial high ground. With weary steps, they climbed, each footfall a testament to their enduring, stubborn resolve. Reaching the crest, they turned, gazing down upon the brutal theater they had just escaped. Cannons, heavy and vital, were hauled into place, muzzles now aimed at the approaching night. With desperate hands, they scraped at earth, building meager defenses against the coming darkness. Adjacent, Culp's Hill rose, its wooded slopes promising a strategic stronghold if they held. Another contingent pushed forward, securing that vital second anchor as daylight faded. As sun dipped low, painting the sky in somber hues, the day's terrible fight concluded. Smoke still hung heavy over town, a ghostly shroud over the shattered peace of Gettysburg. Silhouetted against dying light, they stood firm, exhausted but resolute, against encroaching night. Commanders surveyed the land, understanding the immense weight of the strategic ground now held. Cemetery Hill, a natural fortress, overlooked crucial roads, dictating an army's movements. Culp's Hill, wooded and steep, protected the Union flank, a vital bulwark. In the quiet darkness, amidst echoes, one could almost hear the very heartbeat of a nation. The Union now formed a formidable fishhook, anchored to heights, ready for the next day's fury. Across dark fields, enemy campfires flickered, marking an army determined to strike again. The moon rose, illuminating temporary peace, a fragile, somber lull before another storm. This makeshift stand, born of desperation, set the agonizing stage for the battle's cruel second act. They knew dawn would bring renewed horror, but they would hold, for their nation's very soul. The new day dawned, a fragile promise, but the quiet would not last. History held its breath. Across the fields, the Confederates stirred, their resolve hardened by yesterday's struggles. Another day began. General Longstreet's men began their grim preparations, a heavy silence hanging in the morning air. Destiny awaited them. Meanwhile, Union defenders dug in, strengthening their lines, knowing what the day would bring. Hope and fear. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows. A palpable tension grew with each passing moment. The storm approached. Then came the first movements, a ripple across the landscape, signaling the terrible storm. Battle was imminent. Distant cannon fire broke the quiet, a thunderous prelude to the desperate struggle ahead. The world held still. Union commanders, like a chess master, studied their maps, anticipating the enemy's next move. So much depended. Their eyes often drifted to Little Round Top, a rocky hill, crucially anchoring their flank. A vital point. Soon, Confederate brigades began their climb, a silent, determined push towards that vital ground. Their fateful journey. A desperate scramble ensued, as Union men raced to defend, their breath ragged in the ascent. Every step counted. Among them, Colonel Chamberlain and his 20th Maine stood firm, facing overwhelming odds. Their moment had arrived. The slopes became a maelstrom of smoke and steel, courage and terror in every desperate clash. A human firestorm. Their line, stretched thin, bent but would not break. Each man a bulwark against the tide. A heroic stand. When ammunition ran low, they fixed bayonets. A terrifying, desperate, unforgettable charge down. A final, desperate gamble. Little Round Top held. The exhausted Union soldiers, though depleted, stood victorious, defiant, a beacon of hope. But the battle raged elsewhere, descending into the chaotic, boulder-strewn labyrinth of Devil's Den, a deadly maze. Sharpshooters hid amidst the rocks, their unseen shots sowing fear and deadly confusion. Every shadow held danger. Union men fought through the tangled boulders, a brutal, close-quarters dance with death, an endless struggle. Smoke clung to the rocks like a shroud, making friend and foe indistinguishable in the melee. A terrifying nightmare. It was a brutal personal struggle, bayonets glinting, a desperate fight for mere inches, humanity at its rawest. The rocks grew slick with blood, a somber testament to the terrible cost of that ground. A profound sadness. Exhaustion etched itself onto every face, yet they fought on, propelled by a primal will, unyielding, relentless fortitude. A glimmer of hope as reinforcements arrived, their weary steps bringing much-needed strength. A moment's reprieve. They held, though the ground was dearly bought, stained forever by so many brave men, a sacred resting place. Nearby, the peaceful wheat field lay unsuspecting, soon to be churned into a bloody mire, nature's innocence lost. Across its golden expanse, Confederate lines advanced, a sweeping, relentless tide of blue and gray. The storm broke. Union soldiers braced themselves, knowing this open field offered little cover from the storm. A grim realization dawned. Artillery shells tore through the air, ripping apart the wheat and the men within it. A terrifying, deadly dance. The wheat field became a crucible, changing hands repeatedly, a vortex of human struggle. So much pain endured. Men fell like wheat stalks before the scythe, their lives extinguished in that desperate, churning field. A tragic harvest. A lone soldier fumbled for cartridges, his hands trembling, the air thick with screams. Survival hung precariously. A flag bearer stood defiant, a beacon of courage amidst the chaos, refusing to yield ground. A symbol of hope. Waves of retreat and counterattack. A desperate dance of life and death, endlessly repeated. The exhaustion was palpable. The once golden field was now a bloody, trampled ruin, a stark monument to sacrifice. A chilling sight. Just beyond, the peach orchard, a place of quiet beauty, awaited its own fiery baptism. Soon it would weep. Here, another Confederate thrust, aiming to shatter the Union's exposed angle, began relentlessly. A desperate gamble. Union artillery barked defiantly, trying to stem the tide, their desperate efforts echoing. The air vibrated with sound. Among the peach trees, men fought hand to hand, a brutal, intimate combat in fading light. So close to twilight. The orchard swayed, changing hands in furious exchanges, each tree a silent witness, its beauty now stained. Though stretched thin, their spirit unbroken, the Union lines held fast against the onslaught, a testament to will. As evening descended, a weary hush began to fall over the blood-soaked, ravaged fields. A moment of silence. Exhausted soldiers collapsed, their bodies aching, their minds reeling from the day's horrors. A profound, heavy quiet they had held through sheer will and sacrifice. But the cost, dear friends, was immense, unforgettable, heartbreaking, profound. The morning of July 3rd, a strange calm fell, a breath held tight before the coming storm. Beneath the quiet, preparations were made, a grand, terrible overture waiting for its cue to begin. On Cemetery Ridge, the Union waited, eyes fixed. They knew, deep down, what was surely to come. Then, a flash, a flicker of light across the distant field, a tremor beneath our very feet. The smoke began to rise, a silent promise. The ground began to shake, a terrible, growing roar. The air filled with shrieks, unseen horrors tearing through the sky, a symphony of pure, unadulterated fear. Steel balls, heavy as fate, bounced and skipped, each one a deadly dance with the fragile threads of life. The bombardment grew, a relentless, deafening tempest. North America had never heard such a monstrous sound. Men hugged the earth, their ears ringing, their very souls rattled. How long could flesh endure this hell? The earth around them erupted, a churning sea of fire and dust, a terrifying prelude to what lay ahead. General Pickett, a figure of tragic resolve, received his orders, a path laid bare towards glory or ruin. 12,000 souls, standing shoulder to shoulder, preparing a wave of humanity on the brink of an impossible task. The open ground stretched before them, a vast, unforgiving expanse, a mile of destiny waiting to be traversed. Their tattered flags, symbols of a cause. Soon, they would be planted or fall on that distant ridge. The command was given, a single word that echoed, forward, into the maw of what awaited them. They stepped out, a grey line against the green, a human tide, moving towards an unyielding shore. Incredible order, a beautiful, terrifying precision. They marched as if on parade towards their fate. From the ridge, the Union watched, a chilling spectacle, a living target, advancing with such terrible resolve. The Union cannons, silent for too long, awoke. They turned their hungry muzzles towards the approaching storm. Then the Union guns roared, ripping holes, tearing flesh, right through their brave, unyielding lines. Yet still they pushed, stepping over brothers, eyes fixed on that distant, defiant ridge. Such courage. Wounded but unbowed, they pressed on. A desperate gamble, played out on history's most tragic stage. Now, the musketry began, a ceaseless, murderous rain. Thousands of bullets finding their mark, again and again. Men fell in terrible rows, like wheat beneath a scythe. The ground became a tapestry of courage and despair, smoke and dust mingling with blood. A suffocating shroud covering the horror unfolding before us all. Officers, brave and doomed, urged them on. A cry into the storm, a flicker of hope against overwhelming odds. Point-blank rage, unleashing utter devastation. The charge, a suicidal dream, fading into horrific reality. They reached the road, a momentary pause, a fragile breath before plunging back into the fire. Some, unbelievably, reached the wall. A moment of desperate fury, hand to hand, sword to bayonet. The desperation was palpable, a raw, primal scream. The very ground soaked with sacrifice, on both sides. A flag, briefly planted, a testament to sheer will, then torn down, lost in the overwhelming tide. Reinforcements arrived, a fresh wave of blue. The few brave grey now completely surrounded, outnumbered. The pushback began, slow then sudden. The dream of triumph, shattered under a hail of lead. Broken, beaten, they turned. A desperate retreat across that bloody field, their courage spent. The field, once green, now painted red. A heartbreaking canvas, bearing witness to a profound futility. Cheers erupted, a roar of relief and victory. The Union had held, against overwhelming, desperate odds. Pickett, broken-hearted, met his shattered men, a tragedy etched on his face, the cost too high. So many lay still, silent beneath the Sunday, a generation's worth of dreams, sacrificed for a lost cause. The roar gave way to a somber quiet. Only the cries of the wounded and the whispers of loss remained. Amidst the horror, a moment of grace, humanity bleeding, reaching across the divide of uniforms and cause. Lee, in his sorrow, took the blame. A leader bearing the crushing weight of such a profound defeat. As the sun dipped low, it painted the sky in hues of lament. A quiet sorrow settled over Gettysburg's fields. The Union held, their spirits buoyed. But the cost, the horror, would forever linger in their souls. Pickett's charge, a turning point, etched in blood. The Confederacy's hope, broken on that hallowed ground. The thunder of cannon faded, leaving behind a silence heavier than any sound. It was done. Pickett's charge, that final desperate lunge, had shattered against an unyielding blue line. The grim aftermath settled quickly, a cold blanket over shattered hopes and the dreams of a nation. General Lee, a man burdened by the weight of a dying cause, faced unimaginable losses that night. There was no denying the stark reality. He was forced to acknowledge the bitter sting of defeat. With a heavy heart, the order was given. A strategic retreat, a withdrawal from this hallowed ground. Back to Virginia, back to the fight they knew, leaving behind so much on these Pennsylvanian fields. The dawn revealed a stark picture, one that seared itself into the memory of all who witnessed it. A mournful landscape, forever scarred. The price of glory, the cost of human ambition. Tens of thousands of young men, now silent, littered the ground, a chilling harvest of war. Wounded from both sides, their cries echoing the profound suffering that filled the air. This place became the bloodiest battle of the American Civil War, a terrible testament. Though a crucial victory had been secured, the Union Army, under Meade, felt its own deep wounds. Heavy casualties, too, had taken their toll. So many lives sacrificed for this hard-won triumph. 3 days of relentless fighting had drained them, body and spirit. There was little left. They could not mount a vigorous pursuit. The energy for such a chase simply wasn't there. The retreating Confederates slipped away, leaving only echoes of their desperate struggle behind them. After the storm, an immense, somber silence fell, a quiet that spoke volumes of sorrow. The human cost, not just numbers, but lives, families, futures, all extinguished here. A profound exhaustion settled upon all, a weariness that went deeper than just bone and muscle. It was an exhaustion of the soul, a quiet despair that touched every man present. Sometimes, the quiet after the storm holds more lessons than the storm itself ever could. This lingering feeling, this weight of history, stays with us, whispering its profound truth. After the dust settled and the echoes faded, Gettysburg remained, a solemn marker of what was endured. Its enduring meaning, its long shadows cast forward, shaped a nation's destiny in profound, lasting ways. This hallowed ground, friends, became the very crucible, the undeniable turning point of a fractured America. Before, a great uncertainty hung heavy, like a storm cloud, over the very soul of the Republic. But after those 3 harrowing days, a definitive shift occurred. The tide, it truly turned. No longer would the Southern Army possess the strength to launch major offensives into Union territory. From this moment, their fight became one of holding ground, defending their own, a costly stand. The river of war, once raging and unpredictable, found a new course, flowing towards the Union. A decisive, irreversible shift in momentum, a truth felt deep within the hearts of weary soldiers. Gettysburg set the stage, a solemn, bloody prologue for the eventual hard-won victory of the Union. The path was still long, yet now, the possibility of a united America felt truly within reach. Above all, Gettysburg's monumental role was in preserving the Union, holding our fragile nation together. The very idea of America, of liberty and union, hung precariously in the balance, then held firm. It meant that this grand experiment, this bold republic, would remain one nation, indivisible, unbroken. And indirectly, yet profoundly, Gettysburg contributed to a deeper change, the eventual abolition of slavery. Though not its direct cause, the battle's outcome opened pathways for freedom, a profound ripple effect. The momentum gained here helped pave the way for a new dawn, for liberty across the land. Months later, President Lincoln stood upon this sacred ground, his words imbued with profound meaning. Amidst the graves he spoke, not of victory, but of purpose, of sacrifice, and of future. His iconic address redefined the nation's purpose, reminding us what we were fighting to become. A new birth of freedom, he called it. A nation dedicated to a higher, more noble cause. Those words, friends, echoed through time, inspiring generations to strive for a more perfect union. The legacy of Gettysburg endures, a testament to sacrifice, shaping the very soul of America. And so the cannons fell silent, smoke drifted away into memory. A stillness settled, forever changed. What began as a desperate clash reshaped more than just the war's tide. It stirred something deep. For 3 agonizing days, the fate of a fledgling nation hung precariously. It turned. It wasn't just about lines, it was the very soul of who we aspired to be. Our identity. From those hallowed fields, a clearer vision emerged. A path to a more perfect union, forged anew. Amidst the chaos, a fractured people found shared purpose. Binding wounds, they reached for unity, truly. Their spirit, tested by fire and grief, proved unbreakable, a testament to human endurance, profoundly etched forever. Freedom's delicate flame flickered, then blazed brighter, fueled by sacrifices beyond measure. A sacred trust, cherished. Gettysburg left an indelible mark, not on stone, but deep within the American spirit's very heart. It taught us the true cost of liberty, a lesson whispered through generations, resonating still. If this journey through history resonated, a simple tap on like means so much. Thank you. Join our community for more tales of courage and consequence. Subscribe, and let's explore together. What echoes does Gettysburg stir in your heart? Your thoughts enrich this conversation profoundly. Share your reflections below. Together, we keep these vital stories alive, honoring their profound legacy.